Hello friends, welcome back to JK Dentis. Today our topic is horizontal jaw relation. But before going into horizontal jaw relation, let's understand what do you mean by a jaw relation. So basically, jaw relation is any spatial relation between the maxilla and the mandible, or you can say an indefinite relationship of maxilla to the mandible. What do you mean by spatial relation? Spatial is something that is occupying any space. So the relation of maxilla to the mandible is the jaw relation. This same relation, when it is in the horizontal plane, that is this plane, this is the horizontal plane, then it is called as horizontal jaw relation. And when the same relation is in the vertical plane, that is this plane, then it is called as vertical jaw relation. So basically, jaw relation is of three types. That is, first is the orientation relation, the second one is the vertical relation, and the third one which we are going to study is the horizontal jaw relation. First you need to orient the jaw, then record vertical, and then you have to go for the horizontal jaw relation. The horizontal jaw relation is basically divided into two main types, that is the centric relation and the eccentric relation. Now we are going to see in detail what do you mean by centric relation as well as the eccentric relation. So as per the definition, we all know that what is centric relation. The maxillomandibular relation in which the condyle articulates with the thinnest avascular portion of the respective disc against the slope of the glenoid fossa. Now I will break it. That is, it is the relationship. So this is a condyle. What it does, it articulates with the thinnest avascular portion. So this is the avascular portion, and here there is glenoid fossa. So basically, centric relation have dealing with the condyles, and this relation is independent of the teeth contact. So basically, what is centric relation? It is a bone to bone relation. And what do you mean by eccentric relation? So basically, eccentric relation is other than centric, which is the answer given by most of the students. So what do you mean by other than centric? That is the protrusion or the lateral movements, or you can say the side to side movements. The movements occurring while chewing or any other movements in which the other movements are involved, like protrusion of the mandible, the lateral movement of the mandible, that is the eccentric relation. So in the horizontal relation, we are going to record the centric relation. Now the point is, why we need to record the centric relation? What is the importance of recording the centric relation in edentulous patients? So basically, I will tell you what is it. It is considered as the most stable position and it is the most unstrained position. Why? The reason is that in this position, the teeth, the muscles as well as your temporomandibular joint is in harmony. So main point is harmony of everything. Second most important point, this position is learnable, repeatable, recordable. It is the position at which there is development of occlusion. And the most important, in normal dentulous patients, this is the root. So it have PDL, which helps in proprioception. So what do you mean by proprioception? In the proprioception, what happens? There are impulses which is passing to the nervous system, which tells if there is anything occluding or any pressure or anything like that. So it is the response of the PDL through the proprioception. But this mechanism is absent in edentulous patients because they don't have the teeth, they don't have the PDL. So how the proprioception is being there? It is by this centric relation. So in the temporomandibular joint, this centric relation, it acts as a propriocepting center which will guide all the occlusal movement. So proprioception is an important point. In this position, the functional movements like chewing, swallowing is being done. That's why this position is important. And hence you need to record the horizontal jaw relation in the centric position. Now, how you can record or how you can take the patient in centric? Question arises, how you ask the patient to close in centric. it is not the case you ask the patient, please close in centric, and he will do that. That is not possible. Then how you can do that? First is you need to make the patient sit straight. Second, you need to ask the patient to relax. Third, you can ask the patient to close his lower jaw backward. That is retrusion. Or you can say to the patient to understand easily that bring his upper jaw forward. That is not possible because the movement is by only the mandible. But by saying that, the patient will close in centric. The second most important is asking the patient to swallow, or you can ask the patient to touch his tongue to the posterior part of the palate. Or if there is record base, you can say to touch the posterior part of the record base. And many times what happens, patients are in the waiting area. So you can say to the patient that close, open, close, open. So many times when the patient is opening, closing, he gets tired, he gets fatigued, and eventually he closes in centric relation. As centric relation is the most unstrained position, it is the most comfortable one. So when the patient gets tired, he eventually ends up into centric relation. So this is the criteria to guide the patient in centric. So whatever the points I am telling you falls under the category of passive training. That is, passive means it is done by the patient. Now we will see which are the points in the active training. The active training is done by the dentist itself. So how? You can keep the fingers in the buccal flange. So if this is, you will keep your finger in this region and will just give a thrust, not pressurize it, and guide the mandible so the patient closes in centric. Second is the method given by Dawson, that is bimanual palpation. So basically in the bimanual palpation, what happens? You just keep these fingers in this region and just keep the thumb in the region of symphysis forming a C, and just bring the jaw backward and guide it in the backward in the centric relation. So this is the method given by the Dawson as bimanual palpation. So basically centric relation is divided into different types and different methods. So method is a physiologic method, functional method, graphical method, and radiographic method. So in the physiologic position, the methods are the check bite, or you can say it is interocclusal record. The second method is pressureless method. This method is also called as static method. Then is the pressure method. In the functional, there are two main methods, that is Needlehouse and Patterson. In the graphical method, there is intraoral tracers and extraoral tracers. And the last is the radiographic. We will see each method one by one. First method is interocclusal check records. So what we do, first we record the tentative jaw relation. After making the tentative jaw relation, this relation is being transferred on the articulator. After transfer on the articulator, what you do? You just arrange the teeth. After teeth arrangement, what you do? You check the teeth arrangement in patient's mouth. And you again place a bite of an aloo wax inside patient's mouth and ask the patient to close in centric. If your tentative jaw relation is correct, then your trine procedure in which you have arranged the teeth will be correct. So it is a method to record the centric relation, or you can say to check whether your jaw relation was correct or not. That's why it is also called as check bite interocclusal record. The second method is the static position, or you can say the pressureless method. Static. What do you mean by static? That is not moving, not functional. In the static method is the most common method we all are using in our clinics. So nick and notch method falls under this category. So what do you mean by nick or a notch? So basically this is your maxillary rim. On the maxillary rim, you make a nick in the region of premolar and a notch in the region of molar. So if this is the rim, you will see there is a V-shaped notch and there is a V-shaped nick. So this is the nick and this is a notch. Both have a V shape, but this one is more deep compared to the other one. Then exactly opposite to this position on the mandibular rim, what you do? You make a trough. What do you mean by a trough? So we will see in this section. So if this is your rim, what we will do? We'll remove this portion of the wax. So it will look something like this. Exactly opposite to this, there is your nick as well as the notch. So your rim will look something like this. So this is a trough. This is a nick and this is a notch. What is the importance of a nick and notch? The nick prevents the lateral movements and the notch prevents the antero-posterior movement. Why you need to prevent that? Basically, while recording the relation, what you do, you just place this rim in the patient mouth with the both nick and notch, okay? So if this is the patient mouth and this is the trough, I have placed both the rims in the patient mouth. Now what I will do, I'll take a soft wax. So if this is a strip of soft wax, that is alu wax I have used, I'll soften it. Then I'll make a roll of this wax and will place this wax in this region. So basically it is about this portion, it is 1.5 mm above the occlusal portion of the mandibular rim. After placing here, what it is in the softened condition and we ask the patient to bite. What will happen? This wax will go inside the nick as well as the notch. Before placing the wax, what you need to do is, you need to apply petroleum jelly in this region. Why? Because by applying the petroleum jelly, what will happen? You can again ask the patient to open and again close in the same position. That position will not be stuck. You can repeat the same position. So that's why we are applying petroleum jelly for the easy separation. The importance of nick and notch is that it will help us to orient the softened wax portion which we have used. What will happen when the patient will close? Now you will see there will be something like this on the lower rim and here there will be indentations. So basically with this you can orient easily. That is the nick and notch method and it is the most followed one. Then comes the pressure method. In the pressure method, basically we don't follow it on the usual basis. What we do, we just soften the lower wax rim and we take that rim in a softened condition and ask the patient to close. So in this, by the patient's pressure, the mandible is being closed and the rim is being set. But the main disadvantage is that we cannot verify a particular vertical in this position because it is by the pressure. If the patient will exert more pressure, the rim gets pressed more. That's why this method is not followed much. Then comes functional. So functional is basically divided into needle house and Patterson. What happens in the needle house? In the needle house, we make the rims of impression compound. Why impression compound? Because the impression compound rims are the most stable one. They get least distorted compared to the wax rims. So if this is my maxillary rim, what I will do, I will attach some styli in this position, okay? So there are styli. Styli is something, this pointed part, or you can say a bead or a styli. So something pointed is being attached to the maxillary rim and there is one more mandibular rim. So what will happen? This position in this, what we are going to do in the function, we will ask the patient to do the protrusive movements as well as the lateral movements. Why will ask the patient to do the movements? Because we are recording the relation in function. That's why it is called as a functional method. It is not a static method. So what we'll do, we'll ask the patient to protrude the jaw. We'll ask the patient to do the lateral movements. So what will happen? This is the centric, this is the protrusion and the lateral movements. So when you will ask the patient to do all these movements, you will see, so you will see the marks on the lower rim. That is the Needlehouse method. Now we will see the Patterson methods. In the Patterson method, we are not making the rim in the compound, we are making the rim only wax. So what we do, we again make a big trough in the lower rim. So there is a trough, and what we do, we mix the corundum paste plus the plaster in the ratio of 1:1, or you can say pumice to the plaster ratio is 1:1. We mix it, okay, and this is the maxillary rim, and we ask the patient do all the functional movements. While doing the functional movements, what happens, we have placed this ratio of the plaster as well as the pumice. There is recording of the compensating curves because of the movement during function. That is when the movement is, mandible is brought forward towards this side. By these movements, there is recording of the compensating curves. Then comes the graphical methods. Basically, this method is done by the postgraduate students. The undergraduate students don't do the tracings, because for the tracing you need to record the orientation relation by the face bone. The tracing is being divided in two types, that is intraoral traces as well as the extraoral traces. The intraoral traces are the most correct one, but it is not used widely. Why? Because the tracing cannot be seen in the intraoral cases, because there is one plate and there is one pointer. All of this assembly is placed inside the mouth, and whatever the movements are being made, it is on this plate. So we cannot see this movement inside the mouth. That's why it is less practice, but it is more accurate compared to the extraoral tracer. Why? Because this point is closer to the temporomandibular joint. That's why it is more correct. Comparatively, in the extraoral tracer, what is there? There is a tracer, something like this, and there is a styli, and the plate is inside the mouth. So whatever tracing is being done, it is outside, so it is visible, but it is away from the temporomandibular joint. The accuracy of the intraoral tracers is more. Now I will show you the assembly. So there is a plate, and again there is one more plate. On this there is a pointer. So we need to arrange this pointer on the mandible rim and this plate on the maxillary rim. After that, there is something like this. There are arrow points of the tracer, and there is one plate. So you need to arrange whole of this assembly on the rim to record the movements. So what happens, there is one guide called as Ney's guide. In that guide, we'll keep the finger in front of the patient and move the finger, like if I need to ask the patient to protrude. So I'll keep this finger like this and will move the finger like this. The patient will protrude. Again, I'll take this finger to this side. Then patient will move the mandible to the right side. Again, I will bring it to the centric. Then we'll move to this side. Again, I will bring the finger to the centric. And again, I will protrude. So this is the Ney guide, in which every time the patient is asked to bring his mandible to the centric and then do the all movements. So there is something, an arrow point tracing comes. This arrow point tracing, this area is the centric. This line here, there is protrusive, and this is the left lateral as well as the right lateral. Arrow point tracing is the most accurate, but there are different forms of tracings. Like there can be a double arrow. In this, the arrow can be something like this, or a short tracing. So there are different reasons for this kind of tracings, like condylar interferences or interferences by the record base and many more. But when you get this kind of tracing, it is that your patient is closing correctly in the centric, and it is the most important method to verify the patient is closing in centric. That is, it is not the method to record, but to verify your patient has closed in centric or not. That is the importance of the extraoral tracing. So in short, I have explained you about what is horizontal jaw relation. Why you need to record the horizontal jaw relation in centric position? What is eccentric relation? What are the methods to close in centric? What is active closure? What is passive closure? And what are the different methods to record this relation? If you have any doubt, feel free to ask. Thank you so much, and if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, press the bell icon and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.